John, for the evolutionary thinker, the person who says, oh, here they are talking about God, the Creator, Garden of Eden, sin, and people get, sometimes they think, oh, this is not what I learned at school, this is not what I learned in university, I've got a degree and letters after my name, and those sorts of things, they sound like a little sort of an excuse or a sideline here, but the evolutionary thinker doesn't have a lot of purpose, doesn't have a lot of meaning, and so if you're looking for understanding about why these sorts of things are meaningful, you have to include God in the equation. Any thoughts here around Adam and Eve, venomous snakes, difference that it makes to our values, to our purpose, to the meaningfulness of our own lives today?
Well, I'll give you two examples. I've just been in the schools in Rocky for the past week, high school and primary school, and one of the brightest kids in the school who doesn't come from a Christian family, right? And it's interesting how we found this out. He went home to his dad and he said, Dad, you know all that stuff about creation? Yes. He said, well, it's true. I saw the evidence myself today at school, because I was a guest speaker at the school. It's true, Dad. And Dad, the reason we know this is that Dad actually got in touch with a Christian guy who's been witnessing to him. And he said, you know, that stuff in Genesis? Yes. Well, my son, who's really bright, came home and said, it's true, Dad. I think I'd better start listening to what you say. The Christian's been witnessing to him. The Christian, of course, reported this to us. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Here this guy had rejected the gospel because he thought you couldn't believe Genesis. Very logical. If you can't believe the first page, you can't believe the last page and anything in between. So there's a direct relationship between God's creation, a good world, and the factual basis of faith. Remember, Jesus and the apostles wrote constantly, if it's not true that Christ rose from the dead, your faith is a waste of time. So here we have a man now proceeding to ask the Christian, tell me more. Great stuff. Second issue, when God made Adam and Eve, it was a very good world. They weren't scared of the great white sharks in the pond in the Garden of Eden because they have beautiful teeth that are actually really sharp with sore edges. Brilliant, by the way, if you want to eat giant kelp. And don't think kelp is a meaningless stuff out there. You people eat it at the moment, right? You can get ice cream, which is made out of kelp and things like that. So we still use kelp for its nutrition. And sharks are brilliantly designed for sawing apart big things like that. But when you look at the fear level in the Garden of Eden, there was none. It was a very good world. You could pat the snake, right? Perhaps that's why they weren't afraid of a snake back there in the beginning. They could see no fear, no threat, and the devil used it to trick Eve. Sad, but true. Then we sinned, and from then on, it's gone downhill with snakes, with animals, with lions, with tigers, with sharks.
So when we're reflecting on the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, there's before and after the fall, and the thought here that might be for some hard to comprehend, but the thought here that you're reflecting around the fall in the Garden of Eden is that the snake would never have intended to bite Adam and Eve before the fall. Is that am I on the right track here?
I would suspect that's the case, so that because they had been around just for the day, of course, or 2 days, whatever it was, they were in the Garden of Eden, and you'll find that the snake represented no threat. They already knew because Adam had named all the animals, from the snake to the big tall animals, whatever. He'd named them all, right? All the land animals God had sent to him, and he'd had no threat at all. So he was well experienced with animals, even though Eve wasn't. Adam was. So don't be surprised the devil picks on Eve first, but she's not afraid. Everything around her is very good. And he tricks her, and then she is used to bring Adam down, right? The devil is subtle, and beware, folks. The snakes are still here, and they're a little more dangerous than they were in the Garden of Eden. But the chief snake, the chief serpent, the devil, is still here, and he's out to get the people of God. Don't play him off for too little. Don't play him off for too big. He's not in everything. He's not God. Only God is everywhere and knows everything, but the devil is still very real, and the snakes can be used. Teach your kids to stay away from them. I'm always grateful my mum said, son, see that patch of grass over there? Yes, Mum. Don't go in it in the middle of the day because that's where the deaf adders are. Oh, okay, Mum. What will they do to me? Kill you, right? And that's really true. They're poison venom and can do that to you. But a little kid, no, they won't touch them. They're quite interesting.
There's all sorts of dimensions and depth we can go into, and we will continue our conversation in just a few moments. We do want to open the talkback lines. You might have your own question around issues to do with creation. We're talking about the Garden of Eden. We're talking about the fall. We're talking about the venom of snakes. Lots more to say. 1-800-316-316. We'll take some calls shortly. John Mackay, the creation guy, is our special guest.